Hey guys, it's your best boxing friends. I'm Kelsey. This is Rachel. Rachel, Andy Ruiz weighed more than ever almost today in his
so the
pre-fight
weigh-in was today. So we got to see, like, officially Joshua Ruiz.
Yeah.
And news is that Andy Ruiz is at his biggest.
For 10 years, 283.
And then Joshua came in and looks
lighter than he's
rather
maybe ever
lean.
been. Yeah.
And that was not the like bodybuilder that actually made him look kind of short and made me wonder if he had like the range of motion necessary,
right,
like in a boxing match.
To speak on Joshua's plan of coming in lighter, that was the story we heard all along.
Yeah.
They were focusing more on boxing basics. He wasn't doing as much lifting, and we saw pictures of him in the same way we saw Ruiz's supposed weight loss. We saw pictures of Joshua that indicated that his body looked different. He looked more like a boxer.
But really on weigh-in day is when you get to like see, like there ain't no hiding on weigh-in day. Right. Well, sometimes I guess you could with a heavyweight because you don't have to strip down. But
well, I'm glad you said that, Rachel, because there are some people out there who think that Andy Ruiz purposely weighed heavier today than maybe he actually is. And when I first saw this on Twitter, and the first time I saw it was from Boxing Scene's Cliff Rolled, I was like, that's ridiculous, Cliff Rolled. But then, what was pointed out by, I don't remember who, but also in the pictures, you can look at the pictures, he's wearing a giant sombrero on his head. He doesn't have his shirt off. He didn't really try to weigh in as light as possible. So I think there is at least, I don't know how much truth this was all a big show, but there is at least that.
But what's the benefit to the number being higher?
It's getting in Joshua's head. Really? Mind games. Yeah, I don't buy it, but I'm just saying there's a decent argument for it being a possibility.
I mean, don't you think the more likely thing is that he's trying to distract from how much he weighs?
I think the most likely,
since you came in with this narrative of being like, oh, I'm gonna not weigh the most I've weighed in 10 years, like that wasn't the narrative. So it seems to me that if you come in fully clothed and jump on the scale with sombrero on your head, you're trying to distract us from seeing that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the most likely thing is that you've been telling everybody that you were going to lose all this weight. You didn't do it. So this is how I try to hide that I failed at that.
Basically. Yeah.
So it's understandable. It won't matter really once the guys fight on fight night. Maybe Andy Ruiz weighed 268 for the first fight. If you just put them next to each other and just look at their body types, you would say, well, Anthony Joshua was going to win this fight easy, and that's why Andy Ruiz was one of the biggest upsets in boxing history when he beat Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
And he didn't beat him on one punch. It wasn't a one-punch lucky punch knockout, if you want to call it lucky. It was a pretty, overwhelmingly easy fight to see that Ruiz was getting the better of the action whenever they both threw hands. He knocked him down 4 times until it was finally stopped in the 7th round. So I'm really interested in the fight. I can't wait to see it on Saturday.
Yeah. And I don't care how much Ruiz weighs. I don't care if you can get in there and fight, and it doesn't affect your boxing, and that's just what you are. So we talked about.
He's already proved it once.
Yeah, we're talking about Prince Fielder, who's a professional
former Texas Rangers,
professional
first baseman,
retired professional baseball player.
Yeah.
But how he was an athlete, did his job well.
Great baseball player.
People talked about
all the
his
time.
weight.
They always talked about him, but the truth of the matter is that Prince Fielder could probably, all those people that were talking about him, he could outrun you in a 100-yard dash. He was a great athlete.
Yeah. So I don't care.
Sabathia, so you were awesome. You brought up from the New York Yankees,
yeah.
A guy who performs at a high level, being in a bigger body. That's fine. Andy Ruiz just might be that guy, and that's great.
And that's fine. We're kind of interested in this only because it was a narrative started by the media, right? Or his weight was pointed out by the media, but he played, him and his team played a part in this narrative
There's
throughout,
definitely a narrative.
fight camp. And that's, their thing to deal with. Otherwise, I don't really think we'd be talking about that much if this hadn't been the narrative. You know what I mean?
Right. It's that. It's the PR push to show him and those. I mean, where did those pictures come from? Somebody took those pictures. They took pictures of him, showing him slimmer than ever, supposedly, and that was something that they
Well,
were
it's hard to tell if that's the reason why the pictures were taken.
They were at least using that to sell the fight, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Or maybe could be. I don't know. It's
And
just an interesting topic.
Yeah, it's just
nobody knows. Boxing's
interesting.
Weird.
What's really interesting is like we had the first fight, right? And we have like bodybuilder Joshua and like Ruiz at 260 something, right?
Yeah.
Now we have the rematch. We have Joshua very
pure
lean,
boxer. Yeah.
looking very different, and then we have Ruiz coming in at his heaviest in 10 years, and I was like, well, this could be a legitimately different fight that we saw the first time around.
I think, yeah. I mean, yeah. I have my opinion on how I think the fight will go, but I think definitely it's going to be different than the first fight because they're both coming in with different mindsets. I think especially Joshua, too, he's already admitted that maybe before the last fight he wasn't really that dedicated to boxing. He was, you've seen him on Instagram and you see all the stuff. And he's carrying around muscle like he's a bodybuilder because he wants to look good for pictures. I get that. But I think he's realized that, hey, to fight at this level, at this elite level, especially against as good as fighters as Ruiz, you're going to have to take it seriously. And I think he's going to do that this time. Or at least that's what he says. None of that might matter. He might be able to take it as seriously as he possibly can, and Ruiz might still beat him. So I'm super excited for tomorrow's fight.
Yeah, excited.
Not as excited as I am, though, as, first of all, if you can tell, I'm a little sick right now. I can't really talk. But I'm also super excited about you liking, commenting, subscribing. I super appreciate you guys hanging out with us, talking boxing. We love it, and we love you guys.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.